are you here? Don't interrupt this important ceremony, go home.
Why is my husband marrying another woman? Why am I being yelled at to leave? Lo and behold, my husband is trying to have a ceremony with another woman. I barged into the venue. But finally, I lost my temper with my husband, who is determined to go through with the ceremony. Oh really? Well then, let's liven up the ceremony since it's a special occasion. I turned back to the door and called for the people who were waiting. My name is Rachel. A 32-year-old working housewife. I've been married to John for 7 years, and though we've had plenty of fights, we've managed to make it through thanks to the presence of our child. But lately, things have been peaceful and the arguments have decreased. I suddenly realized why. That's right, the arguments have lessened simply because we've been spending less time together. I'm gonna be late again because of overtime. And then, I'll be gone for 3 days on a business trip starting tomorrow.
Again? You've been working hard recently. It's tough times, gotta make money while I can. Never know when I might lose my job, gotta keep at it.
With that, my husband yawned and headed off to work. Is Daddy going to be gone again? My preschool-aged daughter, rubbing her eyes, asked.
That's right. Daddy's busy.
He's gonna be gone even on his days off? I can't help but think that it's a bit too much to be on a business trip even on weekends. But the fact is, he's working hard for the family, so I can't complain. With the economy being down, it's not easy to find a company that meets your needs if you wanted to change jobs. I know that because I'm working too.
Mom's off tomorrow, so let's take a lunch and go to the zoo? Really? Yay!
My daughter's face lit up with a smile, and I smiled back. It's sad to think that he won't be able to witness her growing up because he's so busy. I thought I'd send my husband some pictures of our daughter while he's away. That night, my husband went to bed early, saying he was tired from working late. The next morning, he left early, and he was gone by the time I woke up. I thought about how tough his job must be as I prepared the packed lunch. My daughter was thrilled to go to the zoo, and I got lots of great pictures of her smiling. So I sent them to my husband, but he was probably busy at work and didn't read them right away. It was read around noon, but there was no reaction, and I still hadn't heard anything by evening. I thought I might try calling him that night, but I forgot because of a phone call from a friend. After all, my friend's call was to announce her wedding, which was a very happy occasion.
Is that so? Congratulations!
I was invited to the ceremony, so I happily agreed to attend. My husband returned home from a business trip, and I immediately wanted to talk to him about it, but he responded dismissively, "I'm tired." Can we talk about it later? It's understandable, though, since he's been working late nights followed by the business trip. He's bound to be tired. I apologized, but my husband silently retreated to his room. For some time now, we've been sleeping in separate bedrooms. I don't know what my husband is doing in his room. He might want some time alone, but isn't this a bit excessive? Coming home late at night due to overtime. Almost always away on business during days off. It's starting to seem suspicious. Should I inquire at his company? But I kept going back and forth about it, troubled, day after day. Then one day, my husband was actually going to be home on his day off. Our daughter was thrilled. "Daddy, play with me," she exclaimed, tugging at his arm, but he replied, "Sorry, sweetie, Daddy's tired. And I'm still working, you know." "You're just messing around with your phone, aren't you?"
I'm communicating with my work partner.
Our daughter looked unhappy at his words. Well, who can blame her? My husband was lying on the couch, humming to himself while fiddling with his phone. Can he really be that cheerful while communicating with a work partner? My suspicions grew. This was now more than just a woman's intuition. I tried to sneak up behind my husband to look at his phone screen, but he cunningly held it at an angle where I couldn't see. That made it all the more suspicious. If there was nothing to hide, he could be more open. That strange way of lying down, his neck must hurt, and who would hold a phone at such an angle? Suspicious, very suspicious. My doubts were turning into certainty. So I decided to test him.
You know, a friend's wedding is coming up, and since it's a day off and you'll be off too, could you take care of our daughter?
The wedding was far off, and I thought he could adjust his work schedule. Plus, it was supposed to be a day off from the company. But, as expected, my husband's reply was,
"What? Even on my days off, I have work. You know that."
Though there's no way he could be booked that far in advance. He always tells me at the last minute when he has to work on his day off, so it's clearly strange that he can't adjust his schedule now. What's more, my husband said, "Why are you trying to push the kid onto me on my rare day off? You're a real she-devil, you know. Don't you think your husband should be able to rest? Isn't it precisely because it's a rare day off that a father should spend time with his child? He hardly ever spends time with her during the week or on weekends, and if he's unwilling to spend time with her even occasionally, I have to ask what kind of parent he is. Doesn't my husband find our daughter endearing?" Both my daughter and I were saddened by my husband's cold attitude. And so it continued, with my husband rarely at home. He worked overtime until late every night. The next day, he left early for work without seeing our daughter's face. Of course, the weekends were spent working as well. At this point, he can't even be called a husband or a father. He is more like an uncle who only comes to visit once in a while. No, perhaps even less than that. This may require a serious talk. In the end, I had my parents watch my daughter on my friend's wedding day. So I decided to ask them to keep her overnight the following day. My daughter has stayed at my parents' house by herself before, so it should be fine. While she's away, I decided, I'll sit down and have a serious talk with my husband after returning from my friend's wedding. Then came the day of my friend's wedding. The sky was clear and the weather was perfect.
I'll be going now.
My husband left early in the morning. Dressed very casually. He said it was okay because he was working on his day off, but was it true? Well, everything will be clear when we talk tonight. With that thought, I got ready, dropped my daughter off at my parents', and headed to the wedding venue.
Oh, what a grand place for a wedding.
The venue was large and magnificent, with several halls that could host multiple weddings simultaneously. At the main entrance, the names of the couples getting married today were written. There were 4 couples in all. I noticed that a couple's last name was the same as mine. It's an unusual last name, but not unheard of. I thought it was a coincidence and looked around. I still had some time before my friend's wedding, but I could see some familiar faces here and there. As I approached to say hello, my friend looked at me with a slightly surprised face.
Hey, you're early. What's up?
Rachel, listen about that groom over there.
Huh?
My friend's face went pale, and she pointed with a trembling hand. Looking up, I saw the couple getting married in the church where my friend was about to have her ceremony. The couple was showered with flower petals by the crowd. But then I thought, huh? That face looks familiar. John. From a distance, I squinted and then exclaimed in shock at the man at the center of the celebration. He didn't seem to hear me over the cheering, but I could hear the voices blessing the two. Among them was a voice saying, "John, make sure you make your wife happy." No doubt, the groom was my husband, John. What on earth is going on? We've been married for 7 years, haven't we? When did we get divorced? I didn't know. No, we didn't, did we? We didn't get divorced, did we? Did he file the divorce papers without telling me? Should I check for avoid divorce? Today's a holiday, should I wait until the holiday's over? No, I can't wait, can I? That's definitely Rachel's husband, right? I thought he looked familiar.
Just let me calm down for a second.
Deep breaths are essential, staying calm is vital. I won't be able to have a sensible conversation if I'm all worked up. Trying to keep cool while dealing with the fact that one half of the happy-looking couple was my husband, I tried to calm down but couldn't at all. Well, of course, my own husband is marrying someone else.
I can't calm down at all.
In my exasperation, I almost tore at my carefully styled hair. My friend patted my shoulder, and the warmth of her hand finally helped me to think clearly. Nodding back at my nodding friend, I pulled out my cell phone. Once the ceremony was over, the reception would follow. The grand banquet hall was also home to the reception area. Looking at the sign at the entrance, I quickly found my husband's reception hall. I stood in front of the door and took a deep breath. Glancing back, I laid my hand on the door. I opened the door with a bang. In the silence, all eyes were on me. The guests at the reception stared at me in astonishment. After a quick glance at the attendees' faces, I looked straight ahead. There, the couple was about to cut their cake. One of them, the groom, was looking at me with the most surprised face. Of course, he would be, as the groom was my husband. My husband, John, seemed truly shocked. I silently approached him. Beautifully dressed, the bride, and John, holding a knife ready to cut the cake. He was dumbfounded for a moment, but when I stood sternly in front of him, he finally seemed to snap to his senses and started panicking.
What are you doing here?
John, in a flutter, drops the knife. Oh my, so much for the first joint effort of the newlyweds. It was the bride who spoke to the flustered John.
John? Do you know this woman?
The beautiful young lady was probably younger than me, maybe in her early 20s. John, clearly flustered, answered.
Yeah, I know her. I don't know her.
What on earth are you talking about? You're not making any sense. The bride's face showed her puzzlement at my husband's nonsensical statements. In his haste, John blurted out, actually, she's an old girlfriend I broke up with.
An old girlfriend? Yes, my girlfriend before I met you. We broke up over personality differences, but she doesn't seem to accept it. She keeps following me around. Is that so?
What the heck? I was utterly astounded by my husband's ridiculous story. Poor girl, she believes him. Feeling sorry for her, I was then glared at by John, who seemed to have changed his expression.
Hey you, we broke up a long time ago. You're disrupting an important ceremony, I'm gonna sue you later. Just leave now.
The moment he yelled at me like that, the thin string of patience snapped.
I'm the one who's... What? What's with the mumbling? Just leave already. I'm the one who's gonna sue you. Whoa!
He must not have expected me to snap back. John recoiled at my sudden counterattack. But I did not let up my attack.
If you want to have the ceremony so badly, I'll let you have it. But without your relatives, it'll be lacking in excitement.
I yelled, and I looked back at the entrance of the banquet hall.
That's why I invited your relatives. What?
Right after my words, John was stunned, and the door banged open again, revealing, what? Dad? Mom, too? Yes, John's parents. And also, wow. My brother, my sister, and even my aunts and uncles? Yes, all the relatives.
What? Why is everyone here? I invited them. Rachel! You!
You? What the heck? Why must I receive such a reproachful look? My husband, turning pale, tried to grab me, but his father was faster and stepped in front of him.
John! You fool! Ouch!
Wow, that punch from Dad looks painful. With unsympathetic eyes, I watched my husband's head get smacked. That's right, as soon as I saw my husband having the ceremony, I called his parents. Naturally, they were shocked. They came right away with all the relatives.
Wait, Dad. Just listen to me. I won't hear it. Sit down, I'm going to lecture you. But this floor is hard. Just sit down. Yes, sir.
His father's thundering voice was so authoritative. As he was scolded by his father, I smirked at him and spoke to the young woman standing beside me. She was still in shock, obviously the bride. I felt sorry for her but had to explain. I spoke to her.
Nice to meet you, I'm John's wife. What? Wife?
The bride, who had been staring at John in shock, turned to look at me. She's really cute. Just the type that John likes. By the way, I have an ordinary face. In terms of the difference between ideal and reality, I am the reality, and the girl in front of me is the ideal.
We've been married for 7 years and have a child. A child?
To the disbelieving bride, I showed her our wedding pictures. My in-laws had brought them for me. And then I showed her the pictures on my cell phone. A photo of John holding our daughter as a baby. I don't have any recent pictures since John's never around. The bride stared at the pictures, dumbfounded. She must have known nothing. So how did you and my husband meet? I asked her.
He was a regular at the coffee shop where I work.
It seems she worked at a coffee shop. John often went there to drink coffee. He asked me out, she said. Ah, John asked her out. That was clear.
He said the reason he was still single at his age was because he was destined to meet me.
Yes, husband, I caught you in a big lie.
He always came home after work and we always met on weekends. He often took me on trips.
Oh my, the evidence is everywhere, isn't it? So, you were lying about working late and went to her house? He was meeting her on the weekends?
I want to sue my husband, can I have that evidence?
She readily agreed to my brazen request. All right, I've got the evidence. Now I can move forward with an advantage. Well, with all this evidence, I can surely get a divorce without any problems. My husband is continuously being nagged by my scary father-in-law. He's sobbing, but he has no right to cry. I bent down beside my sobbing husband and put my hand on his shoulder. With tears in his eyes, he looked up at me, making a truly pitiful face.
Rachel, I'm sorry. I really wanted to have a wedding with her. She said if I don't marry her, she'll leave. Whatever. Just divorce me.
I really didn't care, so I just nodded and said that to him. Then, my husband's eyes widened in shock. Wait, that's what surprises you?
Divorce. No, I wasn't planning on going that far. What are you talking about, having a ceremony like this? You think you have the right to refuse? You're... I don't even want to call you by your name anymore. Since you've been cheating, I want the property settlement, and also child support, all paid in one lump sum. No, I don't want to. Not a divorce. What the heck are you talking about at a time like this?
What's wrong with this guy? I can't forgive him as my husband or as a person.
It's not just about me. You left our daughter alone, and you say you don't want to divorce. We don't need someone like you. Just marry someone else. No, it's not like that, Excuse me.
I don't know what he's thinking, but my husband was crying and saying he didn't want a divorce. As I was coldly responding, I heard a small voice. Looking over, I saw the bride, who was looking down and hiding her expression. It was her.
Samantha, no, it's not like that. I truly love you. Rachel kept refusing to divorce, and I couldn't get divorced easily. But I really wanted to marry you.
Hold on, didn't you just say you didn't want to divorce me? He probably don't even know what he is saying. Basically, he is saying he doesn't want to divorce me, but he also want to marry Samantha. Are you an idiot? Before I could say that, my father-in-law said, "Are you an idiot?" and slapped his son on the head. Yeah, well done, father-in-law.
That's enough.
The one who said that, having seen it all, was Samantha. What? My husband asked, tears in his eyes. She turned her icy eyes, very cold eyes, on him.
I don't want to marry you. What? I'm calling off this wedding. Thankfully, we didn't get the marriage license yet. And besides, you're already married. Bigamy is illegal. No, wait, Samantha. I love you. What about your wife? Huh? Oh, Rachel? I don't love Rachel. What?
When Samantha asked about me, my husband was about to say he didn't love me, but I glared at him and he changed to, actually, I do love her. What's wrong with you, man?
You idiot.
It's not me this time. The one who yelled "you idiot" was Samantha. She finally snapped.
I can't forgive you for proposing to me while you're married, or for betraying your wife and child. And then saying you love both of us, and want to marry but don't want to divorce. What do you think you are? I'm sorry. You don't have to apologize. I'm going to sue you. What? This is clearly fraud, isn't it? Marriage fraud. No way. Wait, Samantha,
My husband is clinging to Samantha's dress. And what's more, he's reaching out to me with his left hand while grabbing the dress. Seeing this, I looked to the side. Samantha was looking at me, too. We exchanged glances, nodded simultaneously, grabbed the husband's hand. And together we pulled him up and shoved him away, shouting in unison, "Are you an idiot?" With a dumb cry, the husband crashed into the cake. After that, we apologized profusely to Samantha and those involved for ruining the ceremony. But they thanked us, saying they were glad to have been told. Nice people. When he was hesitant about marriage, I thought something was strange. But when I said if we can't get married, we should break up cleanly, he finally agreed. I wonder what he was planning to do after the wedding ceremony and registration, Samantha said. Really? I thought it was strange that he didn't want to invite relatives. He said he wasn't on good terms with them and didn't want to invite people from the company either, Samantha added. Yeah, it's weird that there were no guests from the husband's side. Samantha ended up getting a settlement, along with compensation for the husband's actions.
It's been a good lesson in life. I want to find a decent person more carefully next time.
Samantha said, smiling brightly, hinting at her strength. I'm sure she'll find a wonderful encounter next time. As for me, I had to apologize to a friend for not attending her wedding. But my friends sympathized with me and assured me that our friendship would last forever, which was a relief. Naturally, I divorced my husband. He was adamantly against it, but when I said, "He who chases two hares catches neither," he gave in. I didn't understand why he was so against divorce. But I concluded it must have been because I had an income since my ex-husband's savings were all gone. It seems it wasn't a good idea to think that he was taking care of the mortgage, given that I had a job with a decent income and never received living expenses from my ex-husband. My ex-husband had poured all his remaining salary into his girlfriend. Well, that's why he lied about being on frequent business trips and was actually going on vacations. Money can disappear in no time at all. Well, I'm not going to be lenient about the division of property and child support. I'm not allowing any installment payments. His parents ended up covering the money. Under the strict supervision of his stern parents, my ex-husband is now scrambling to repay them, working his original job and taking on a night shift as well. Rumors of his sleazy behavior have spread at work, and he's treated with disdain. Female coworkers even avoid getting close to him. Well, let him suffer, that's what he deserves. Life for my daughter and me hasn't changed much since the divorce. My ex-husband was rarely home, so it's only natural. Without a lazy father lounging around, my daughter seems livelier, don't you think? Watching her grow up healthy and cheerful, I can't help but laugh, thinking I must be careful that she doesn't end up with someone like her father in the future.